Supergirl was not a good movie. With its failure both critically and at the box office, it becomes the second failed Supergirl film out of two. As a DC fan and someone who loved Superman last year, I am really bummed by this outcome and really frustrated at the people who claim it was because of wokeness. I want to speak to how this failure indicates that fans of comics, movies, and Supergirl want something different from a superhero film.
She's not Superman, and she's definitely not Clark Kent.
Kara Zor-El first appeared in Action Comics number 252 in May of 1959. She was Superman's cousin, with her father, Zor-El, being the brother of Superman's father, Jor-El. Throughout the different ages of the comics, she has had multiple adopted names and alter egos, but what is most important to know is that she is a female variant of Superman who grew up in a fragment of this planet Krypton called Argo City, and then was eventually sent to join her cousin on Earth once Argo City was no longer going to be sustainable.
Her name is Kara Zor-El from Krypton. She's my cousin.
Your cousin just torched $50,000 worth of custom hardware.
Significantly, in 1985, during the Crisis on Infinite Earths saga, she was killed off because writers felt like that there were too many universes and that certain characters had run out of stories. So she was killed off. In between that death and her eventual revival, we got other forms of Supergirl. Most significantly, there was Linda Danvers, who has the popular crop top and miniskirt combo from Superman the Animated Series, the best Superman show, although I do love my verse with Superman. She is based off of Kara, but she's a fallen angel, metahuman from hell. It was the 90s. Also significantly, there is Power Girl, who is biologically the same person as Kara, but they're different physically, and she is from Earth 2. Her origin has changed because, honestly, a lot of them sucked. But now the standard canon is that she is a refugee from the Krypton that exists in Earth 2, because the multiverse is back. We shouldn't have killed Kara anyway. While there are classic and important Supergirl stories, she is often at her best use narratively as a supporting character to Superman. And that's just my opinion. I do love her, but that is what I feel. And I don't think being a supporting character is inherently a bad thing. Supergirl, Kara, is a very important foil to her cousin.
I think people are expecting a sidekick film to Superman, like she's kind of in the periphery of his world. But what they're actually going to get is a really kick-ass Supergirl.
Kal-El was born on Krypton, but he was primarily raised on Earth and is shaped by that human experience. He grew up with parents who loved him and nurtured him. He also has an inherent respect for humanity and wants to actively balance the two parts of his life and do good. He is an immigrant, whereas Kara is more of a refugee. I know there's overlap there, but just go with me, okay? She remembers Krypton. She left her family behind, her home behind. There's an active survivor's guilt that resonates with a lot of people, especially since as a member of the House of El, she does in her heart of hearts want to do good. Although it is worth pointing out that Supergirl the film does confirm that Kal-El in the Superman of this universe was sent to Earth in order to conquer it. Don't love that, but I will survive.
Your choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
One of the amazing things that happened as soon as the first teaser trailers hit was TikTok doing the thing I think TikTok is best at, which is making a bunch of edits. And they made a bunch of edits for Kara to the song Silver Spoon. This one being my favorite. It not only shows a contrast between the new universe's Supergirl and Superman, but the Supergirl of the CW series played by Melissa Benoist, who I will say is still the gold standard of Supergirl in general. She's just incredible. And mind you, Supergirl was not a perfect show, but it understood that Supergirl and Superman are meant to be heroes in an idealized way, but they still can have personal strifes, personal journeys. They, despite everything, fight for truth and justice, not just with their fighting skills, but with journalism and leading by example. Kara can be snarky and more aggressive than Superman, sometimes even more bloodthirsty, but she's not cynical or dark by default. The hardest thing about writing these characters, especially the core DC, is that they are the ideal overall. And if you're going to deconstruct that and make it gritty, you better make it worth our while. And so often it just wasn't, especially in the DCEU.
What does your gut tell you?
Zod can't be trusted.
And you know, I am someone who appreciates the DCEU. I have defended many of the works in there. I like Birds of Prey. I think it has some good bones. But what people were looking forward to with this Supergirl was seeing how James Gunn was going to bring in this character, but also continue this deeper understanding of getting to what the core of these characters is all about. And,
absolutely killing it. She's really inhabited this character in the best way. I couldn't imagine anybody else in this role.
Supergirl 2026 is based off of the Tom King comic Woman of Tomorrow. The general concept of both the film and the comic are the same. A young girl named Ruthie asks Kara for help in getting revenge on the man who killed her father, a man named Krem. During a moment of conflict, Kara and Crypto are both hit with poison arrows by Krem, and now in order to save Crypto, Kara and Ruthie must seek out Krem and defeat him.
I'm going to tell you something. Only one of you is going to make it out alive.
When it comes to the positives, Millie Alcott is excellent as Kara. Excellent leading lady. This film would categorically be worse without her because she just brings a lot of heart to this character, and she's great at speaking in made-up languages.
Learning Kryptonian, it was okay. Like, it wasn't particularly, I mean, it's difficult to learn a language that isn't real, but I kind of just learned it the same way I learned High Valerian for House of the Dragon.
The scenes of her on Krypton were perfect, and her screaming into space. And in a stronger movie, those would have had more resonance. I also think Eve Ridley was really good. Jason Momoa clearly had a great time as Lobo. Lobo looks good. Beyond that, I don't think this movie works as a movie. I also did not read the comic prior to watching the film, but just in taking notes during the film, I didn't feel like Ruthie's story worked as a parallel to Kara's. Kara keeps saying revenge won't make her feel better, but it's like, how do you know? Argo City and Krypton were not destroyed by a pack of brigands. It was destroyed because of a climate and space disaster. It also has Kara's grief basically sandwiched between these comedic moments that feel very out of place for this story that we're telling. It's like, you know, really deep moment, throwing up, puking, joke here, pee joke. It's just like, there's just not a lot of substance surrounding the central conflict. Also, the movie just looks kind of ugly. You know, my left tit for film saturation, please. I take notes during movies, and I could just slowly feel my excitement for this movie drain bit by bit. And I could understand the idea of Supergirl versus this kind of space Boko Haram, but it doesn't fit in with the grief and anger that we're also trying to explore with Kara. When it focuses on those aspects, the film has masterful and poignant moments, but then a cliche action scene will happen, and all that pathos washes away.
Aren't you the ditz from that dive bar?
Funny. That's what I've been calling you.
Touche.
Initially, I wasn't even going to do a non-Patreon review of Supergirl because I did an initial review there, but then I actually decided to sit down and read Woman of Tomorrow. And I rarely get really upset about not great comic translations to movies because they're two different mediums, but this kind of annoyed me. As you have probably been able to tell from this video and other videos, I watch a lot of television. Television is one of my great passions, and I am currently traveling, and while I have been traveling, I have been catching up on a lot of my favorite shows. And so I'm so excited about the sponsor of today's video, Flix. Flix is a new platform that is all about film and television tracking. You can make a free profile, add some recent watches, and begin a new experience of building. I spent this weekend adding to my repertoire, especially catching up on a lot of anime. I really love the show Witch Hat Atelier. It gave me time to cull through and figure out what I actually want to keep watching, why I'm watching certain things. Certain things is certainly not for pleasure, but it is for entertainment purposes. And so it was really fun to do. Now for me, I had to insert these personally, but if you go to the watch list section, you can import your watch list from either IMDb or Letterboxd, whichever one you use. The thing I'm really excited about taking off is forums. I myself added one forum discussion about Rhaenyra from House of the Dragon because, as you know, I have a lot of feelings about House of the Dragon, and I miss message boards. They are a lot of fun. So I am absolutely inviting my viewers to not just join on this app, but to follow me and see the collections I'm building. And I'm definitely going to try and do some recommendations. And if you're trying to figure out what I'm watching and if I should do content on it, you get a little insight into what I'm watching. Additionally, as an added perk, Flix is going to have a monthly giveaway where the most active registered user will be eligible to win 6 months of subscription fees covered by Flix for one of their favorite streaming services. Terms apply. I'm really excited to continue using this platform, sharing with you what I am watching, and it's just been really fun to be able to keep up with a bunch of shows, especially and somewhat unfortunately Love Island. As I'm filming, I'm waiting to see who is gonna finally leave the villa and who's gonna win out of the top 4. I'm rooting for Anaya and Carl.
It's a really empowering story, one about resilience. You can be your own hero.
So in general, I don't think it's fair to compare a movie or television show perfectly to its source material. Something can be a good adaptation and a bad movie. Something can be a good movie and a bad adaptation. With comics, it's even more complicated because, in truth, in my opinion, comic runs are best adapted into longer television series or cut up to fit the actual theme. The reason we have yet to get a good adaptation of the Phoenix Saga is that that saga is built upon the foundation of decades of comics and metatextual analysis about the X-Men. Trying to rush it into a 2-hour movie will never pack the same punch because you have to really know these characters. Inspired by the classic Western and one of my favorite movies, True Grit, Woman of Tomorrow is made up of several adventures that Kara and Ruthie have while trying to find Krem, who is responsible for killing Ruthie's father, and not her whole family like it is in the movie, and for poisoning Crypto. Like the movie, Ruthie meets Kara while she's drinking on a planet, and they go on an adventure, and they have to defeat Krem, but that's kind of it. While Kara in the comic has moments of snark and curses a lot, which is fun, she is committed to being good, to being a solid neighbor, to taking care of Ruthie and protecting her from the darkness of the world as much as she can. With kindness, she gives her a piggyback ride. They go on several adventures together, and each one shows Kara attempting to deal with the brutality of the universe with kindness and empathy. And all the while, Kara is reflecting on her own grief about Krypton, what it was like to lose all of that, but also how she carries on. Despite that kindness, she isn't weak or beyond being tempted. The story is told from Ruthie's point of view, and so her narration leads the story, but sometimes the visuals will contradict the story, and it leads to a really interesting textual experience, leading to a final showdown between Krem, Kara, and Ruthie. So we're going to get into some spoiler territory here. So in searching for Krem, the two characters, Kara and Ruthie, end up on a planet called Maypole, where he was last spotted. Everyone seems kind and positive, but there's a lingering tension that Kara can sense, especially as they avoid any mention of Krem. And she realizes in the guest book for the space hotel that they're staying at that there's a division between purples and blues that no one will explain. While in bed, there's an attempted assassination of Kara and Ruthie that, doesn't work because she's fucking Supergirl. The next day, Kara flies off with Ruthie to a farther part of the planet, and using her X-ray vision, she finds the remnants of Purple Town and the bodies of those townspeople. In Maypole, the people were segregated by color, with the purples and the blues. The blues were seen as the elite, and the purples were kept in a type of ghetto situation, until the brigands came. What's important to know is that while the brigands become a part of the Supergirl movie, Crumb does not start off the story as a brigand. He is very much human-like in appearance. Instead of the sad Mad Messiah character he looks like in the film, he works for the king of Ruthie's planet finding traitors. He ends up escaping on Kara's ship by accident and ends up eventually on Maypole and is jailed for drunken disorderly conduct. The brigands are a separate group of space brigands, pirates, who go from planet to planet killing and pillaging. When they arrive on Maypole, the mayor is not able to fully pay them the bribe, and hearing this, Krem suggests that they give up the purples for slaughter. And they do, and they throw a parade for Krem. Krem impresses the brigands and ends up joining them, and the blues pretend nothing ever happened. Something Ruthie can't understand at first because the blues seemed like regular people with families. And she says it's too big and we're too small. I found myself deeply moved by this moment in the story, not only because it was a really powerful example of the apathy of evil, but it serves just another way in which Kara allows Ruthie to see the broader spectrum of morality while still maintaining her own central core. But I did instantly wonder if this was something they were afraid to adapt. For those who don't remember, Superman was seen as having a very anti-Benjamin Netanyahu message, and while the powers that be have denied that, I think it's sort of hard to ignore. To have that and then another story where we are very clearly depicting a genocide and a segregationist society that is pretending to be utopian on the bodies of their neighbors is very topical. And in addition to the current events, I was also reminded, because I've been listening to it, of the book We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow We Will Be Killed with Our Families, which is a recounting of the Rwandan genocide. This is a book that really focuses on not just dealing with the aftermath of real systemic harm, but how do you move forward to help those people? And a lot of what this book is, in addition to being a fun Western-inspired adventure, is Kara helping people. She comes across this man whose family and community were murdered by the brigands, and he's slowly digging these graves, and Kara's just like, let me help you. And that is so much more powerful than anything. And it's the kind of humanity that makes the Superman family so significant. The brigands cause disaster, but Kara isn't just focused on defeating them, but ensuring that the survivors of these horrors get a time to mourn, to let out their rage, to bury their dead. And all of this leads to the central themes of this story of restorative justice and kindness and finding a way to blend justice that isn't just purely revenge. Kara and Ruthie end up being sent via magic to a prison planet that was founded to hold Superman. It has a green sun and dinosaurs there to kill Superman once he is weakened. Kara has to spend 9 hours in this green sun. During that time, Ruthie has to protect Kara. And after this, Kara tells Ruthie about the destruction of Krypton and Argo City and how she was sent by her father to Earth. The last thing Kara's mother told her before she died was to be good. That is Kara's North Star. She lives to carry on the memory of an entire civilization that, unlike Superman, she can remember. And I know that Tom King's writing is divisive. I'm not a fan of everything he's written either, but sometimes the story just finds you at the right moment. And when Kara asks her father why he's saving her as a priority, and he says, "Tomorrow will come soon enough," he said, "and I will pass, and this place will pass, and stars will fall, and suns will rise. And you will be a woman looking back on the many decades of your life, the terrors and the triumphs. And perhaps you will think of your father then, and perhaps you will remember whatever has happened, whatever pain you have endured. You are still my little girl." As you may or may not know, if you're new to the channel, my father has dementia and it's horrible. So any father-daughter stuff is like shot to the heart, you know? And Kara is just so powerful and overwhelmingly noble at times, but moments like this situate that her motivation comes from something very human, even though she's an alien. She wants to make her parents proud. And it's not that the scenes of Krypton in the movie are bad, but it is missing that texture of strength and resilience and goodness that is mixed in with that sadness. When I read the comic, I found myself asking, where was that goodness, the softness, the compassion, the wearing the fucking costume? This story may be a standalone in the sense that you don't have to have read any prior comics, but it is so elevated by knowing Superman lore, by knowing the silliness of Silver Age comics and why there's a magical Kryptonian horse. It helps you understand the nuances of these characters. And I think they wanted Kara to be this cynical, gritty, rejecting the costume hero, and that's just not Supergirl, nor something I think people are eager to see. And I think especially the ending shows a real fundamental flaw with the mindset that came in making this film.
Kara is a complete force to be reckoned with.
She's not afraid to punch everyone in the face.
Millie brings this rock and roll vibe to the character.
At the end of this comic, we find out, rather than killing Crumb, he was sent into the Phantom Zone, where he is eventually redeemed by self-reflection in the Phantom Zone. Kara goes to visit Ruthie 300 years later when Ruthie's an old woman, and Kara releases Crumb. He falls to his knees and apologizes to Ruthie genuinely, and she hits him with her cane. Some people think that Ruthie killed him. He's alive, and I think it's very obvious from the context of the comic and confirmed by Tom King himself that that's what happened. He gets hit, she gets her lick back, as she deserves, but Ruthie doesn't kill him, because if he was going to be killed, they would have done that earlier. But Ruthie even stopped Supergirl from killing creme de la creme, because she recognizes that it would be corrupting the goodness in Supergirl and this goodness within herself. And that's what the entire adventure is about, right? And usually, I'm usually team blah, blah, blah. But now when it comes to the House of El girl, in the film, Kara kills him. Now, when I was watching the movie, again, without having read this, it was giving Superman killing Zod in Man of Steel. I am fine with Kara being somewhat vengeful, and I also think that if she had gone through all the stuff that comic Kara did, maybe I would have appreciated how it was done, but no, it just felt wrong. In an interview with the screenwriter and director, this was brought up, and what was said was the following: I thought it was incredibly emotionally satisfying. She's gone on this very messy journey of self-discovery and dealing with trauma, and it just felt honest for her to do that. I think anything else would have felt like a betrayal of her character to me, the interviewer. In the comic, Crumb is just sent to the Phantom Zone, but then Ruthie kills him, right? Which is a not dissimilar kind of energy. And then it says in parentheses, Tom King, who wrote Women of Tomorrow, has clarified that while an aged Ruthie strikes Crumb with her cane after he emerges from the Phantom Zone, he and artist Belkis Evely did not intend readers to think Crumb dies. Now say it with me, guys. What are we doing? What's going on? I was really floored, because I don't know how you could adapt a comic book for Supergirl and just think that she would kill someone, or think that an angsty self-determination story is the best way to go with that particular character. And I'm going to say this, I know it's unpopular, but with the exception of sometimes Wonder Woman, I don't think most DC heroes should kill their villains outright. Marvel, do what you got to do. Unless it's Peter Parker. You better stay out of them streets. But DC? No, I'm sorry. If you want superheroes that kill, you have them. But Superman and his family, Batman, besides, my child Jason Todd, Spider-Man, they're not killers. Deconstruct somewhere else, Elseworld that stuff, but not in the main universe. And again, I don't know how you could read this comic and think this is the ending. But I could see people thinking it's subversive because Kara is a woman, but it's again, you want to have a female heroine who can kill? Give Huntress a movie. You love seeing women kill in superhero movies? You should have watched Birds of Prey like I did. Despite how fun it might seem, Kara isn't vengeful or angry. She is... It is just not a good ending, and it doesn't really feel earned. And especially because, and I think this is really key, in the movie, Krypto is really poisoned. In the comic, Krypto is fine. Because, of course he is. And I was in the theater thinking, if Kara was hit with the poison and she's fine, why would Krypto be dying? They're both Kryptonian. The comic has that Kara uses this as an excuse to go on this quest with Ruthie and teach her that revenge is not the path. That is the premise of the comic. And also, some of the shots in this film were doing so much Mad Max Fury Road coded stuff. Especially there's one shot towards the end where I'm like, oh, you copied and pasted this from Fury Road. But Fury Road made the wives actually have some agency and larger storytelling. This is not it. And it's unfortunate because these are flaws, obviously, but they're not unfixable. They're not insurmountable. They're just flaws. But when it is a female-led superhero movie, and one of many that has not done up to par, of course, that's going to be a whole thing.
I'm just really proud of everybody who was a part of making this film. Like, it took like hundreds, if not thousands, of people worked on this single film. And I applaud absolutely every one of them.
When a movie like this fails, it should just be treated like a lesson to help people learn what works. As someone who stayed loyal during the DCEU, I got the Blu-rays. I'm not going anywhere. And I know that one day we will get a great Supergirl movie, but maybe an original story is the way to go. Just a suggestion. But I think what it largely speaks to is the way that a lot of the female superheroes that we have are so important for representation and so important visually. But so few people take the time to narratively really get it right. And when it is done well, it's really substantial. But even some of the ones that I really like, I'm thinking about that Superman/Doomsday movie, which I do to a certain degree like, but then it's like Kara's wearing some like little titty costume and I'm just like, you know, girl, I love a titty, but like, what's going on? I think if anything, this film really needed to have a better color palette. The movie is dry. The movie is unseasoned. And that to me is worse because you have the template. People want color. People loved seeing Superman like save a squirrel. That's what people want. People want hope. They want that. And Kara gives us another way. Kara gives us that path. There's nothing wrong with the female superhero being soft and kind and then also cussing. There's plenty here to work with. And if Supergirl can be a successful TV show for, 5 seasons? You can make this work. But it has to know that what people want from Supergirl genuinely is goodness. That you don't have to deconstruct her. You don't have to. Not everything has to be gritty. Not everything has to be a journey of self-discovery. Kara knows who she is. Kara knows exactly who she is. She's just sad. She's a refugee. She misses her home. She can never go back, but she knows who she is.
Nia, you and I have been so focused on fighting and reporting that maybe we forgot the most important part of being a hero is inspiring hope.
That's not the problem. The problem is, how do you keep going when things are so hard, when you miss the people you love so much? Well, if only a comic covered that. Hi, I'm traveling right now, but I was just finished editing the video and I just had this final thought. I think what's complicated about female superhero movies is that the idea of empowerment becomes like this key word, you know. Even in the interviews, you'll hear people say this is a kick-ass empowered Supergirl. And I think what a lot of people think as empowered is ultimately, in my opinion, very limiting. And I don't mean that in sort of a like, oh, whatever you do as well, but like empowerment is different for every character. Every female hero's empowerment translate differently because they're not the same. And so for Supergirl, what I was thinking about as I was editing and even watching the CW clips is what they managed to do is have Kara as Supergirl really have to balance out between what it means to be Supergirl and what it means to be Kara, and which one of those, you know, perspectives, which one of those people gets left behind, which one of those people has to suffer the most, which one of those identities gets the most attention. And what's also really compelling and why I think Kara being a supporting character isn't a bad thing is because her relationship to what it means to be Kara is different than Clark and his reality to Superman. Like, Clark and Superman are very different from Kara and Supergirl, because in my opinion, there's a little bit less of a separation between Kara and Supergirl, because Kara is Kara, you know, like that is who she is. That's her name. Like sometimes, again, she'll use the Lydia Danvers, or she'll have a different last name. But Kara, for the most part, is living her life and knows what it was like to be normal before. You know, her entire sense of self is so different. And so what it means to be empowered for her is going to be fundamentally different from what it meant to be empowered for someone like an X-Men character who's a mutant, or Black Canary, who is a much different kind of character. Like, every character is different, but there's this desire to collapse all empowerment, all female empowerment, into one level. And I think that we forget that, like, softness can in certain contexts be empowerment, not because and not in the, like, I'm not promoting tradwifism in here, because I do think that while there is nuance to female empowerment, we also have to, like, be very clear about what we mean by softness. But what I mean is, inherently just making someone a gritty character does not mean that you're giving them a sort of unique or special depth. And I think that when it comes to the super family, what makes them important is how they feel this need to balance out what it means to be an ideal, how that ties in with their survivor's guilt, what it means to always have to be the moral paradigm, and then sometimes be angry. I think some of the best Superman storylines are one where he gets really pushed and he really is like, actually, I really want to, like, be petty. Like, his stuff with, you know, Captain Marvel is really, or Shazam, is really interesting because he gets pushed that way. You know, the way he, like, really holds a grudge towards Lex Luthor later on. Like, I think a lived-in superhero who is grappling with, I don't want to do this violent action, but man, are you pushing me, and really showing the power in that restraint is really important and key. And yeah, I want us to move beyond this idea that empowerment has to look one way for every character, and really just allow these female characters to have their own unique arcs that fits them, and not just what fits the mainstream idea of what empowered women looks like. I'm so glad I saw it. I'm very loyal. I love DC. I love these characters. I want the best for them. And I also am not afraid to be like, this wasn't the best for them. Let me know what you think if you've seen Supergirl. Thank you guys so much for checking me out. I've been really loving all the interaction on my recent videos. And I was going to do an Avatar video, but I have scrapped that because honestly, the Avatar fandom is toxic. I do not enjoy talking about it. I don't feel like at my big age I need to be arguing about Zutara and Katara and Aang and all stuff. It's too much. I watch other TV shows. However, I do have a great Zutara Magic the Gathering Commander deck, and all I want to do is get out Katara, get out Zuko, get them together, and then that's it. Get as many Zutaras as I want. It does have some Sokka, some Azula. It's got really good flavor, and the way to win, unfortunately, is with the Fire Nation attacking. I'm working on that. I need to find a non-colonization way to win with this deck, but the important thing is that I get to use my game to make my shipping happen. And that's what being an adult is all about. All right, I guess see you in a couple weeks for the Odyssey.
You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know, like some sniveling bastard.